Welcome, world, to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. I am Reverend Sandy Rogers, and as the creator of this historic event, it is my pleasure to welcome you. We come together to bring you this historic event. We have practitioners, holistic practitioners, we have medical doctors, we have spiritual individuals. This event is so lovingly dedicated to my mother, Mrs. Barbara Dean Brown. And my mother taught me like 40 plus years ago about the importance and the meaning behind herbs. And she would always say, we don't know what they putting in those pills, so you better not, get hooked on prescription drugs. And so we listened to Mom, but not all of us paid attention. My sister, bless her heart, was diagnosed recently thereafter with asthma, and she was prescribed prednisone, which is a very powerful steroid. And my sister actually got hooked on steroids like someone out on the street kind of hooked, like on heroin or crack or something like that. And so my mom and my sister are both on the other side, living in the other dimension, but they're upholding me, and this is dedicated to their memory. So we don't want to come and make you change your mind about what you're doing. We just want to provide information to you, something different, so that you have options to choose from, so that you're not stuck. Because the environment that we now live in, the fast foods, the toxins in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink, and the processed foods, and all of that is causing havoc on this precious body temple. So God created our bodies to heal themselves, but they can only heal themselves when they're fed and they're nourished and they're stress-free. And so the 60 or so or more experts that we have are bringing you this worldwide wellness movement in an attempt to share their testimonies and their information with you. So we have from age 14 on up. I don't even know what the oldest age is. I think 88 or something. So you see, that's a wide range of knowledge that we're bringing you. And so we hope that you come and that you get all the knowledge that you need to affect a positive change on your life, and share this with others. It's free, it's online, and so we're just so thankful that you decided to be a part of our listening community, the viewing community, and we certainly appreciate you for giving us your time of day and your energy and your efforts to being with us and to being a part of this historic event. We have pulled together people of color for you, by you, right? So we want to make sure that you understand that we too, melanated people with color, can enjoy, practice, and participate in some of these modalities that others have been doing for centuries, and that is pretty new to our community. So we talk about Qigong, we talk about meditation, yoga, spiritual work from a different perspective than religion. So we talk about the spirituality aspect. We talk about abuse in the families. We talk about all kinds of subjects because we know that in our communities there are layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we never talk about that's causing a negative effect on our bodies and its healing process. So we address it, whatever it is, and we hope that you will benefit from the many experts that we have, and that you walk away with lots of knowledge and lots of new information, and that you become fully empowered to share information with others. So thank you for being with us. We love you and we bless you, and we look forward to doing this again. But thanks for being here with the first one. We appreciate you.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
I am Queen Neith Hatshepsut Mayat, and I am the founder of Medicine Woman University. The mission that I have been graced with is teaching indigenous melanated women how to fall in love with themselves. When a woman falls in love with herself, she becomes a better woman. A wise woman builds her house, and it's the foolish that tear it down with her own hands. So if she is blessed to be a mother, if she is blessed to be in a loving, committed relationship, then that relationship is enhanced because she learns to love herself first. And then she teaches her mate how to love her by the way she takes care of herself. The same thing with her children. Our children are a divine reflection of us at our greatest and at our worst. And we teach our children how to love and respect us by the way they see us being loved and respected by our spouses, by our mates, by their fathers, as well as the way they see us take care of ourselves. So my mission is to reach out to my sisters. We understand that it takes 16 positives to pull up every negative that has ever entered our eyes, our ears, our emotions. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to doing, is first working on me, because I teach self first but not self only. And so I've learned how to fall in love with me, and then I teach women how to do so. And so women just visit my website from all over the world, and they realize, wow, I went to college, I got degrees in everything, but I didn't learn how to master myself.
That's incredible.
Give thanks.
Yes, yes. And women, we're the caregivers of life.
Yes, we are.
On this planet Earth, Mother Earth.
The mothers of civilization.
Yes.
And if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And that's where we leave ourselves open. See, a lot of times the universe and our elements respond to us. So when you keep seeing back-to-back hurricanes, when you keep seeing all types of catastrophic events, we have to look at the women. We have to look at how much pain the women are in. So if we can help the women to heal, then the earth will heal, because we are the mothers of civilization.
How long have you been doing this work, Queen?
I started this work about 25 years ago, surprisingly. Most people aren't aware of that. At the age of 23, I actually opened my first day spa. And at that point, I realized, yeah, you went to college, you got all these amazing degrees, but helping women to look at themselves and to improve their own esteem, that's what you're called to. And so I had 12 young ladies that worked with and for me. They did hair, they did tanning, I did nails. And so I had many women that came in that were missing fingers. I worked in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we had a lot of factories there. So there were a lot of women that were missing fingers. I had women who came in who had diseases and disorders that made their nails come off of their toes. And I'll never forget that, see, we take for granted wearing sandals. And I had a young lady come in, she was 50, and she said, I want to get a pedicure, but nobody ever sees my feet but my husband, and I always wear socks around him. And I said, well, why? And she started crying. I said, talk to me, tell me what's going on. She took off, she had on her shoes, it was the summertime, and she had on socks and shoes. And she said, can I show you and you not laugh at me? I said, I promise I won't. She took off her shoes and her socks, and it was nothing but skin at the end of each of her toes. I'd never seen that. And I've been burned. I've volunteered in burn units. I'd never seen that. It was nothing but skin at the end of her toes. So all of her toenails had fallen off and it was just smooth skin. I said, you know what, I can help you if you'll let me. And she called her husband because he was going to pick her up. And she said, this lady said she can help me. She said she can build me some toenails. Will you give me another hour? He said, baby, I'll do whatever you want. And she had him on speaker. And so I taught at Dudley Cosmetology University. And so one of the things that I specialized in was sculpting nails. And so I sculpted her 10 toenails. And they were beautiful. And she just stared the whole time I was doing it. And that woman cried and cried and cried. And her husband came in and he slipped $100 in my hand. He said, this is just because you helped to heal the woman that I love in a way that I couldn't touch her. She would never let me, we've been married almost 30 years, she's never let me touch her feet. And so she became a client until I left Greensboro almost 5 years later, and she cried when I left. And it was at that point I realized, wow, this thing is for real. The way I got into doing nails, I used to hide and cover my burn scars on my hands. And I went to a lady, and I was 20, so this was back in 1980 something. And she did me my first set of nails. And I was so proud. I found myself using my hands and talking with my hands. And I said, you know what? If this made me feel this good, I got to share this with other women. And that's what started this part of my journey. In 2010, I started working on, I had fibroid tumors. And they had me on double doses of steroids every month. That blew me up to 300 pounds. And it didn't stop the bleeding. All of the fibroids that were in my womb had fused together. And they became one big mass that weighed 40 pounds. I had 7 different gynecologists that said, you just need to have a hysterectomy. We're not going to go in and cut all that. Listen, you ain't having no babies. Go ahead and have a hysterectomy or just get pregnant. Just get pregnant. And I'm looking at both of those options. I knew that I wanted to have children, still do some days. And so I said, well, now I understand and believe in creative miracles, but now if you take my womb, where's the baby going to grow? That was the first thing. Second thing, just go have a baby. Just go have a random baby. Just, hey, come here. I need to have a baby. No. Neither of those were options. So I started working with a wonderful lady named Aisha. And she's here in Atlanta. And she does womb work. I started learning about natural herbs from her. And then I learned about raw foods and started going to raw food seminars. I had my first weekend experience of doing raw food and lost 4 pounds. I said, this ain't natural. Something wrong with this here. No, this can't be God. And so it scared me, but it made me realize I wasn't hungry that whole weekend. I could eat as much as I wanted to. And so then I ran into Kaya and Baratunde, and they own the Forgotten Foods, and they are my spiritual grandparents or godparents. And they started teaching me about herbs. I went and my fibroids had gotten so bad that I could barely drive because I was losing so much blood. It was a Saturday. And I called Kaya. I said, I need your products. She said, well, I can mail them out. I said, you don't understand. I'm too lightheaded to walk up my steps. I had a townhouse. I can't get upstairs to where my bed is. She said, well, if you can just get here, we've got the herbs. There are 20 steps to get up to her house. I'm 300 pounds and I'm just crying. And I climbed those steps and I got there, and for an hour and a half, she and her husband gave me herbs. Just so that, now I'm not what you would call a light-skinned woman, but I was pale. And they said, we couldn't let you leave because there was very little blood left in your face. And for an hour and a half, I took those herbs. It shifted my life. I said, you know what? This is what I need to do. And so that was 8 years ago, and I began sitting at their feet and I began learning herbs from them. And then about a year later, Spirit spoke to me. They said, okay, you've learned the herbs, you've learned the food, but there's a debt you owe. I said, oh. And so I'm looking at my little credit report. I'm like, well, my little credit look good. Who I owe? And they said, there's a 900-pound elephant that you've left sitting in your spirit life for about 20 years now. We need you to reconcile that. And that was the baby girl that I had aborted 20 years ago. That was my secret. I never talked to anybody about it. And they walked me through how to do a post-abortion healing clinic for myself. 20 years later, I didn't know that was a debt I owed. I didn't realize I attracted those fibroid tumors to my womb because my womb and my breast were supposed to nurture that baby girl. And because of the decision that I made to rid myself of that responsibility, then those parts of my body decided, we're going to turn on you. You turned on us. I said, wow. I did that procedure. I walked through that by myself. And from the herbs, from making that acknowledgement, and from the raw foods, that fibroid tumor became like jelly. It was a hard mass. It softened, it broke up inside of me, and began to pass through me. And it took 5 months to do so. And as a result, never again have I had any challenges with fibroids, and this has been almost 7 years. And so in my healing work, that's what I do. I do post-abortion healing clinics for women. One of my oldest students was 73 years old. And I have women older than that reach out to me and they say, hey, I had an abortion with a clothes hanger when I was 13, 14 years old. Can you help me? I had a hysterectomy when I was 20 because I'd had 4 or 5 abortions when I was a teenager. And back in the day, they used clothes hangers. Can you help me? And so that's exactly what we do. I go all throughout the country. I'm getting ready to go to the UK in May. And I help women to reconcile that energy and to release that baby's spirit back into the hands of the ancestors. So in my Sacred Medicine Woman course, I teach women how to fall in love with themselves, and part of falling in love with yourself is being authentic. And so in being authentic, you deal with the demons that you've hidden in your closet. And I learned how to teach women to do that by dealing with my own.
Your story is just so incredibly fascinating. There's documentation that say within the African American community that abortions kill more life than combination of the homicides and the drug overdoses and all of that. So by you teaching that principle of reconciling that energy with the ancestors, that's so important to strengthen us whole, to be whole again, to return to that place.
And you are absolutely correct. Since 2009, as they do the statistical data, 500,000 African American babies a year are aborted. Many sisters have started to use this as a form of birth control. And that comes from self-hate. That comes from the stereotype that this little boy that's in my stomach is probably going to get killed anyway. So I'm going to avoid that. I don't want to be a statistic. What will the church people say? And so we make decisions. See, some things we don't get a do-over with. We don't get a do-over. No one could have told me at the age of 19 that at 48 I'd have no children. If I'd have known that, that little girl would have made it. And so I'm so grateful to be able to do this work. And we don't do it from a place of judgment. We do it from a place of healing. And a lot of times, unless you actually experienced what people have experienced, they can't hear you when it comes to healing. And it's not just women that I do these for. I do this for men. A lot of brothers suffer from prostate cancer, from erectile dysfunction, because they have funded abortions. You ever met really, really good brothers who can't never seem to get their thing together financially? They done went to college. Hard-working brothers always losing jobs. When you put your money toward an abortion as a man, then you have now brought a curse upon your finances. Your money becomes blood money, just like if you put a hit on somebody. So until brothers actually reconcile that energy, then they end up continually having physical energy issues and financial issues. And so the women cry, but oh my goodness, the men. And you talk about men weeping because they get a chance to name their children, to find out the sex of their children, to give an explanation as to why they allowed this to be. And then they release the spirit of the baby into the hands of the ancestors. When a man releases on that level, he is taking back his authority as a provider, a protector, and the priest that he lost when he agreed with that experience. A lot of men find out afterwards, but see, that's still your responsibility because that was your seed. You put your seed out there and you left it unprotected. So I'm so graced to be able to do this. And this is what I've committed my life to, is this healing work. So that, see, I didn't have a Queen Neith growing up. I didn't have anybody to have this discussion with me, to hold me accountable, to say, there is an alternative. And so I'm grateful to be able to be a Queen Neith in the lives of people that will receive me. I'm grateful.
Do you also include perhaps the parents, mother and father, or mother
All day
or
long.
father, that would have told their teenage daughter,
Yes.
get rid of that?
Absolutely, because they have blood on their hands. There's no way that you don't. And it's really, really deep because when we make these types of decisions for our children, and I have counseled so many women whose mothers and fathers took them to the abortion, you're going to do this. So they had no option, they had no choice, and the girls wanted to keep the baby. So when your parents take that option from you, then they have blood on their hands. And so I do family counseling because that rift is always between you and your parents. That's a death. So we make a lot of things family secrets, but that ain't no secret. That's a death. And so it's harder when the parents have transitioned. And so we do a lot of embryonic channeling so that you can release your parents. Your parents got karma that they have to live out because they made that decision for you. But if you don't release them, you hold that resentment and that anger inside of you, and that becomes disease and disorder. We can't allow that to happen to us on top of being forced to have an abortion. So yes, I fully hold them accountable.
Queen Neith, your work is vital to our survival. To be able to make a positive contribution to those energies. I call them unnamed, and there's so many of them. I think you said your number was 500,000
Per year.
Yeah,
Per year.
that's amazing.
Yes.
Simply amazing.
Yes.
And for you to do the work is truly commendable.
Thank you.
Yes, it's you've touched me in such a soft spot.
Mm.
And we've had conversations about a number of issues and activities within our communities.
Indeed.
This here is something that touches everybody.
It does. And I'm blessed because part of the anointing on my life and part of the anointing of my personality is that I get to deal with the things that other people want to sweep under the rug, the things that aren't our niceties. And I used to so try to convert my personality so I could be like other people, but that's not what I'm anointed to be. I'm anointed to deal with our ugliness, to deal with our pain, and not just, oh, well, let's just give it over to a deity. Let's just not think about it. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about unicorns and rainbows. But life is not unicorns and rainbows. It's just not. And so I'm grateful for everything that I had to experience to get to where I am now. I stand in constant gratitude.
And I'm appreciative that you are taking ownership of who you are and you show up in your authentic self. It is so much needed. And those subjects which we seem to think that we push up under the carpet, and as long as we don't talk about it, it doesn't affect us, but it does. It affects us even more.
Yes.
So to be able to get to the root of that is really extremely important. So thank you for the work that you do. Yeah.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
What other modalities, you told us about some, but what other modalities have you learned and perfected, I know, in the work that you do?
Indeed. I do solfeggio sound Reiki. And that is an organ and system cleansing. I do a lot of really deep trauma work on chakras. And we get so used to hearing, I'm getting my chakras spent, I'm getting them cleared, I'm getting them cleansed. But see, a lot of us, depending on how deep your damage goes, your chakra points can actually be bent. And so when they're bent, nothing bent is spinning. And so it may move a little bit, but it'll get stuck. Some of us are old enough to remember records. To other people, they've never heard of a record. They don't know what a record does. But see, if a record gets scratched, it may play over and over and over again in the same place, and you got to put a penny on the little head so it can keep moving. If nobody puts a penny on your head, and see that copper is a generator, if nobody puts a penny on your head, you can stay stuck in the same thoughts, in the same patterns in your mind over and over and over again. So we use solfeggio sound frequencies, and those are binary beats, very high level hertz that go through and they cleanse and clear. We also use many of the Kemetic and the Yoruba healing words so that we can go deep, because we realize that the Yoruba languages and the Kemetic languages vibrate higher than English. And so we use those high vibrating words. We call on those ancestral deities in order to help to go in cleanse out that deep-rooted trauma so that we can then not only get the chakras cleared and spinning, but we get them spinning in the proper direction, and we don't go back to that. So we get ourselves sealed. Because a lot of times we go through healing work, but it doesn't get sealed. So as soon as we go back into the toxic environment, we're wide open. And we take back every negative mitigating force that we just had released. So that's part of the work that I do. I brought one of my sound healing mechanisms with me, and I'd love to just share just a little bit of clearing with the rest of the family. And so those tones start to just go throughout. This is specifically for the heart. So our heart is encased in a pericardium. And so that is the beautiful sac that our heart is covered by. Many of us have a hardening of that pericardium around our heart. And so we wall ourselves in from so much damage. The only challenge with walling ourselves in is that nobody can get in to give us the love that we need, and we can't get out. And so you hear the term, no man is an island to themselves. It's true. And so we become consumed with our own thoughts and with our own belief systems in every aspect because we've closed out everybody else. So we have to realize my point of view is not the only way of seeing it. Dr. Ray Hagins always talks about the circle, and he says the information that I have is inside of this circle. And just because it's the information that I have, that doesn't mean that that's everything that there is to be known about that topic. I choose to open the circle so that I can receive an increase in knowledge. And so when I do, I usually do 30-minute, an hour, or 2-hour sound, solfeggio sound therapy. And we go through and we purify your chakras. We cleanse your aura. Depending on which package you get, we also give the opportunity for you to do a relationship detox. Because every time we choose to be in an intimate relationship with a person, we're making a covenant with not only them, but every person that they have made a covenant with. That's why sometimes we do things and we're like, why did I do that? That's so out of character for me. We have to go back and make apologies. I don't know why I said that to you. I'm so sorry. And we sit there and we beat ourselves up because we're like, and that's because it wasn't you. It was somebody else that you've made a covenant with. And you may not even be dealing with that person any longer. So we go through and we help you to purify from that as well. We do parasite purges. And see, when we have eaten foods that bring parasites into our body, we also attract parasitical relationships to ourselves. So I teach a series, and actually I'll be down in Jacksonville on April 15th, and I teach a series that's called Suicide by Food. Because we don't realize, we talk about the police are killing us and this is killing us, but we have to take responsibility for what we're doing. And so when I have my parasite purge parties, people come and they get rid of what they are attracting to themselves. We do a 40-day follow-up package afterwards, because many of us started eating bacon when we were 2. And so you can't cook trichinosis worms out of bacon. So that one encounter could have left those worms in your colon. And they don't just stay little bitty baby worms. They grow all throughout your colon, go through your bloodstream, go up to your brain. So many of our elders that are diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's, no, they have wormy brains. And if you just go through and start doing a parasite purge, start taking Jamaican bitters, then all of a sudden their memories come back. When we in our 30s and 40s find ourselves going into rooms, going upstairs, can't remember what we went upstairs to, as quickly as you can, get Jamaican bitters. They begin to go through and pull those parasites out of your body. They can't stay. The Forgotten Foods has an excellent product that's called kryptonite. And it's all of those put together. You drop them under your tongue and worms start leaving your body. And so we have to take accountability, take responsibility for what we're attracted. We have to take responsibility. We've been graced with beautiful, functioning vehicles. Those are our bodies. Many of us don't love our bodies because we are looking at somebody else that's supposed to be our standard of beauty. You have to be your own standard of beauty and standard of excellence. And when we decide, I'm beautiful, I love me from my head to my toe, I love everything great and everything that needs to be improved, but I love me, then it takes everything to a higher level. So one of the other things that I've chosen to do, I teach cooking classes. I teach them internationally online, and I also teach them at the Temple of Sekhmet, because I want to teach people how to fall in love with these foods and with every property and principle of the foods that we're putting in our body. When you know what you're putting in your body is good for you, you gravitate toward that. When you start looking at raw foods and you're like, okay, if I cook the same food, I lose 50% of the nutrients. Why am I going to self-sabotage continually? Why won't I eat at least 80% raw? And then steam a little or cook if I have to. When you start gravitating toward raw, your body's kind of like, I don't really want that other over there. I know you used to like that, but I snuck in and I raised your vibration. So come on up with me. Then you start attracting higher vibrating beings to you. People who know more than you know, who have more than you have, and don't mind teaching you how to attain it. So everything is interrelated. Our food is interrelated. The parasites are interrelated. The healing is interrelated. As we continue to make the decision, I love me enough to participate in my own healing, everything around us changes. Many of the relationships that we've placed ourselves in begin to change. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing told us something that people took offense to. She said, African Americans, highly melanated people, should wait until they're 30 to get married. Because who you are and what you think at 20 is completely different at 25. And it's totally different at 30. By 30, we've finished all our education. We're pretty much financially stable. And we're ready to be in a mutually beneficial relationship in a wholesome and healthy environment for a child. When you have melanin, it actually is an extra bonus. So you've got to now learn how to take that extra bonus and cultivate it and bring it into its excellence and its greatness.
What a beautiful way to end this segment.
Thanks.
We're indeed grateful for you sharing of who you are with the world.
Good, thanks. I appreciate you.